Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Steve Chiama, and I'm a franchise owner for Action Coach here in Fairfax, Virginia. And I'm your host today of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have the pleasure to introduce Kristina Han, the founder and CEO of OneUp, as my guest. And today we're going to talk about Kristina's business, her journey into business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when a new show like this one drops. Kristina, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today. And if you would, please give us a little bit of background about who you are and tell us a little bit about your business too.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, Steve. Um, my name is Kristina. I grew up in Korea until I was a teenager, and then my family moved to the US for swimming and for school. I swam in the 1988 Olympics when I was 14 years old, so just to age myself. And then I studied at Harvard, earned two additional degrees, graduate degrees in international policy and law, and then spent the next 20 years living in a bunch of countries in Asia, Europe, and the US, and covering a bunch of careers. I was an investment banker on Wall Street, then was a corporate lawyer in New York, and then London, Hong Kong, Singapore, private intelligence consultant in Monaco. And my last corporate job was as an in-house lawyer for a large private equity capital before starting my entrepreneurial journey. OneUp is my latest venture, and it's a mental fitness tool that helps people close the gap between intention and action, especially for students and athletes.
Awesome, awesome. That's quite a variety of career paths. Um, what inspired you to go down all those paths?
You know, I I think that, having been a very competitive athlete at a young age, I was always looking for that same level of intensity that I had as an elite athlete. And years later, I found that sweet spot finally.
Mm,
That's, high intensity and high
hmm
self-fulfillment, which is
hmm
entrepreneurship. But as you can see, these are all really intense jobs. And um, I kept, jumping from one thing to another, looking for the next kind of excitement and adventure.
hmm hmm With the background that you've got with investment banking, let's talk a little bit about how the business is financially structured. Partners, investor money. How is the business structured? Let's give the readers a little or the listeners a little bit of context here.
Yeah, it's a Delaware incorporated company, and
Hmm
I do have a business co-founder
hmm
whom I brought on about a year into my business. He's based
hmm
in San Diego. His name is Wei Li,
hmm
and he's also our acting CTO. So we bring very opposite skills to the table.
hmm
Obviously, I bring sort of more the business experience, and Wei Li brings all the things technical. So it's been a really, really great partnership. And
Ah,
sorry, go
that
ahead.
was a question I was going to ask is with all the hats that have to be worn in a new business, early stage business, I mean, there's marketing, there's sales, there's production, there's this, there's that, there's the other thing. Which are the hats you wear?
Um, it depends on the day, but generally I would say sort of business and marketing is the main thing. And content is something that Whaley and I both share in terms of how the product is designed and built. But obviously, Whaley does the heavy lifting in terms of the technical end of things. But, we are really collaborative. There isn't, a system where I'll say, I'm taking 100% control over this and you take the other. I mean, as a startup, we're having to, really work together in every facet, but we try to,
Hmm.
make sure that we're not wasting too much time, working on too many things at the same time.
Mm, yeah, that's an issue. That can be. There is so much to do that it's a bit challenging to decide which ones are going to be today and which ones are not going to be today. How do you guys make those decisions?
Oh, I mean, I think the struggle is a daily one. And the way I think about it is because there's a lot of noise, right?
Hmm.
And we are building this sort of as we get feedback from
Hmm.
our target demographic. So
Hmm.
it's very easy to get carried away when somebody says, oh, but I would love to see this part of the product, or this part of the product doesn't work for me. And we're having to really question ourselves every day and say, is this a product? Is this a feature? Because if it's a
Hmm.
feature, we are gonna, put it on a low priority list. But if it's,
Hmm.
goes to the core of our product, then it's, worthwhile discussing. And then of course, I tend to be more of the big picture person. So I'll say, oh, Wei Li, I think we should do this, or I think we should fix this. And I just have this big vision. And Wei Li kind of is very good at reining me in and say, well, that's just not feasible. Technically speaking, it's going to either take a long time, or it's going to, increase, the kind of the backroom effort that goes in. So it ends up working well, but it is a active discussion that we have on a daily basis.
Very good, very good. Let's talk a little bit about your the target demographic, as you put it. Who's the real target, and how are you approaching them and reaching out to them?
Yeah, our target is high achieving high school and college age students and athletes. And we actually started out with a focus on younger demographics. So we thought that we were going to target parents of young students. And initially I would hear feedback from the parents saying, "Oh, what a great idea. Oh, my son really needs this." And we built it and came back. And what I didn't hear beyond what the parents initially said was, "Oh, I love this idea, but I don't really know how to get my child to use it. And I don't have time to, stand over and watch them to use it." So, it's a typical two customer problem. One customer that pays and one customer that uses it. So, this is how we kept moving up the ladder. And, I think it also goes back to the lesson that I learned about asking questions. People always say, it's really important to ask a lot of questions, do market research. But what people don't say is, it's critical to listen. Listen in a meaningful way, because
Hmm.
I did listen in the beginning, but I only heard what I wanted to hear. So I had to go back to the drawing board and really listen. So
Hmm.
that's how we ended up at this target demographic. And
Uh-huh.
the way that we are reaching out to them is, again, it's something that I had learned through the hard way. The obvious answer would be for this demographic would be social media,
Hmm.
the TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat of the world. But I quickly realized I'm terrible at it. As you can see, I am not of that generation. And I also don't enjoy it. So those are two terrible combinations. So I had to think outside the box to come up with a solution. And by the way, my co-founder is also not of that generation. So we kind of came up with this wacky solution of creating an internship program. It's an year-round internship where we bring on high school students and college students. So what we get out is we get live feedback on the product, but we also leverage our students as the seed for our growth engine. So they bring on their peers to use the product, and they would also then give us feedback. So it's kind of our beta program. Uh,
Hmm.
the interns get out is obviously they get to work on this critical skill of self-management, of following through and achieving a personal goal that they choose. But at the same time, they get to score an internship, which, as we all know, is really, really difficult to get in this
Hmm.
market. condition. So it's a program where everybody wins, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
Very, very good. Let's play a little bit with that. There's an awful lot of entities out there that purport to help people increase the SAT scores or this or that. What makes you unique? Why would people decide to go down the path with your approach as opposed to something more traditional, shall we say?
Sure. So there are a lot of tools like productivity apps and habit building apps. And in fact, we had to really hone in on what our positioning is because
Hmm.
people would confuse our product with exactly those. Oh, this app helps me sends me reminders every day to do things, or, gives me a checklist that helps me build a habit. And we would say, no, 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 these are not it for us because we're really an internally focused tool in that, we help you figure out how to get things done, how to stay accountable to yourself without the external pressure or reminder. So it's, through the mindset shift that you are building an internal operating system, so to speak. If we're getting sort of, from a tech perspective, you're really building that ability to automatically follow through on what you said you would. So that's really the biggest differentiator is that this is something that you don't need to, have as an external tool. If the internet isn't there, if your phone isn't there, it's something that you should still be able to use because, the way our product works is that every day you get a sort of a daily check-in on your phone. It takes 2 minutes and each day you get a different prompt. It could be multiple choice questions that help you self-reflect, a micro challenge that is a discrete nudge for you to do something very, very small, or a free text questions that allow you to really think about your own behaviors and how you're thinking about, your own patterns. So again, these are all things that help you internally, build up a foundation that's critical, not I don't know, a giant cat on a screen that's gonna stop you using your apps or sending you, annoying reminders each day. Although I like those reminders, by the way.
That has a sound to it, like it will stay with you beyond the moment, so it sounds like what you're doing is addressing the mindset in the person as opposed to um, this specific goal that they're working on.
For sure. I liken it as like a gym for your brain, and it's
Hmm.
really building that muscle, the internal muscle for you to, manage yourself in the best way, especially in the age of AI where we feel like all the solutions lie in, just in the AI, and you can go and ask questions, and we say AI can tell you what to do, how to do, but it can't actually make you do it. And so we're really focused on that microsecond when you decide not to go to the gym or not to do your homework, I don't know, not to floss or it could be anything. What happens when you decide to take that other path? So it's very different, again, from all the other external tools that are out there.
Very good. Let's kind of address, why did you choose to go into business specifically? And then what was the trigger that chose this specific direction to go?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of wanting to go start my own business is, again, as I mentioned earlier, I I was looking for that sort of the intensity and the self-fulfillment. I think the key is really the self-fulfillment is, even though I've had amazing jobs and careers, I needed to build something with my own, two hands. So that's one thing. And then specifically about this industry, having been an athlete and having been in these careers, the idea of, mental performance and mental fitness has always been something that resonated with me and I've thought a lot about. And then I had three kids years ago, and two of my kids are on the two opposite ends of the spectrum. My third one is too young to be in this picture, but my first one is super advanced, a couple of grades ahead, and all the things that a parent can be conventionally proud of. And then my second one was born with a rare chromosome disorder that resulted in multiple disabilities, including deafness and blindness and all kinds of other. And being on the two opposite ends of the spectrum, you really get to see what it means to be capable and have abilities, and realize this idea of self-management, this idea of mental fitness is something that no matter where you are on that spectrum, that is really critical for your success. So that's really what motivated me to start this.
Yeah, success is defined many ways.
Yeah,
It isn't just one way to define success, is it?
absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. Kind of going back to the business itself, you've had some interesting hurdles to overcome to go down this journey, not the least of which was just thinking through how to approach this entire problem. What would you say is one of the more memorable hurdles that you've had to work through?
Um, well, I would say I'm going to answer that in a little bit of a different way. As a mother, especially of, having a special needs child who requires 24/7 care,
Hmm.
it's a daily existential crisis, right?
Hmm.
There are many, many, many mothers and caregivers whose full-time job is to
Hmm.
care of their children or their child, especially, my son has lots of emergencies, seizure related or other kind of medical issues. So I feel like daily struggle is like, I have no business doing this. It's this thought in the back of my head. So that's why I say it's a daily existential crisis.
Hmm.
But I also know that this is really important for me, and it's really meaningful business that I'm building. So um, it's not to say I go to bed feeling like I am a champion by any stretch of imagination, but you know, I just keep forging through. But
Hmm.
I don't have a one particular struggle. It's just like the daily, I've been building this business through my son having, a 9-hour hip surgery up in Boston, having to move the whole
Hmm.
family up there for 3 months. But I realized, hospitals are a great place to work. I mean, I'm grateful for internet connection and the fact that we can do so much virtually.
Very good. Very good. Um, Looking ahead, look, projecting out into the future, 5 years, 10 years, where do you see the business going? Where do you see this progressing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna dream big and say, I would like to be, a tool that high school students and college students come to when they think about, how to step up to the next level, especially when they're transitioning, whether they're thinking
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into college or they're transitioning into workforce. And so I would like for us to scale so that this is, as common of an app as, let's say, Duolingo, and thinking about maybe in 5 years, thinking about expanding into other English speaking countries outside the US.
Very good. What do you see as main challenges to move that forward?
I think there are two. One is to stay focused. I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to get distracted and overbuild. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then related to that is marketing and business development, knowing where and how to reach the right audience is going to be really our challenge. Again, it goes back to the focus. I am very careful not to jump into the whole TikTok game or I don't know, Snapchat. It's a self-serving statement, right? Because I don't really know that whole world, but I really rely on this concept of I don't know what I don't know. And I want to make sure that and that's really not where our specific target students live necessarily. I mean, sure, they use it, but our students tend to be much more focused towards, the debate club, the Model UN, the finance club, and a lot of these affinity groups where they're focused on preparing for their next step. And we really
Hmm.
want to be there for them in those situations where they're thinking about, the next goal. So this is not a social product. So I feel like, we're going to be really focused on more of the academics and more of the achievement focus. It could also be the sports, whether they want to make it to a Division 1 school or, whatever the next level may be.
Very good. Kind of thinking back, you've learned a bunch of things. You've tried some things that did work. You tried some things that didn't work. If you started over again today, you were starting this business up new today, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
Oh, so many. So many. I, yeah, I'm just trying to think of like the one main thing. I would listen better for sure. I mean, I think the thing that I talked about where it's so easy to hear what we want to hear. And
Hmm.
I would try to really push people to push people as in like I would ask, better questions and more probing
Mm.
questions. Um, so that's the main thing that I would do differently.
You're alluding to a lot deeper level of market research, I think. That's what it sounds like you're saying is understanding what the buyer and user really want, as opposed to what they think they want.
Right. I think there's a book, right? I think it's called like the mom test and it talks a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't ever read that one, but yeah, that makes sense to me. That's interesting. Cool. Awesome. I mean, we could go on like this for a while, but in the interest of time, let's do some rapid fire questions to start wrapping up here. What would you say is your key to success?
Showing up, you know, um, nothing better than just showing up. Bad day, good day, tough day, just showing up.
Be there.
Yeah.
Very good. What is, if you and I were having coffee at the coffee shop, somebody walked in the door and was talking to their friend about a business that they were starting up, what's one piece of advice you would want to share based on your experience?
Um, I would say stay focused and
Mm.
minimize the noise around you. And when
Hmm.
I say stay focused, I mean in concrete terms to, know the essence of your idea, of your product, know
Hmm.
why you're doing it and what
Hmm.
you're doing about it. And I think that why is probably the biggest North Star that we can have is, that's what gets us to show up. That's what, helps us to be resilient when everybody says
Yeah.
no, is the why.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That's the important one, isn't it? Yeah, very good. That kind of gets me to the question, what's one book you've read recently or are reading now that's having impact on how you're driving this business forward?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that it's not a business book. It's actually a book of poems. I have a book of poems by Mary Oliver, and I do a little meditation every morning for 10 minutes, and I read a few poems. Because it grounds me, and I every day my wish for myself is to stay clear-headed and grounded, and this is what gets me off to that right start. And I feel like having that foundation helps me through all the crazy, unexpected ups and downs that I have each day.
Good way to put it. Yeah, staying grounded is really key in all of this. Focused and grounded. Yeah, very good. You've had a great journey. You've learned a lot.
Thanks.
You've done a lot of things. Just overall, you've done a lot of things. Um, what are you most proud of as you're building this business?
Uh, Staying in the business so far. That's
Hmm.
I'm really proud of because, this has been a journey that started before AI came out. I mean, I was starting
Mhm.
to do market research and really doing manual tests. And I think the way that I was able to build it and then bring on a co-founder, the way that timing worked, we could have easily built ourselves out of existence. Um,
Mm.
just, being in parallel to what has been happening in the market. But the fact that we've been able to evolve and really leverage, every new development technologically has is something that I feel really proud of and gives me a great hope for how we can continue to evolve to kind of perfect our product in the next years.
Very good. Very good. Just kind of taking that same question and flipping it around to the other side. If you had a magic wand and could magically fix one thing in your business this afternoon, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, marketing. This is my biggest weak point. If I could just wake up and have a marketing brain, it would be amazing. But it's something that
Mhm.
the learning curve is really steep. But I actually love learning about it and getting better at it. And this is something that I'm just trying to improve and making it my craft. So, and I've learned the hard way that this is not something that you just outsource it away. If you don't know the core kind of components of it, then you can't really outsource it to anybody because you don't really know like, how to explain what you need.
Well, you don't know how to evaluate whether or not it's the right approach.
That's right. Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
point. Good point. Most important question. How can people who want to know more connect with you most easily?
Yeah, they can connect me on LinkedIn with Kristina Han, or they can also go to our website, get1up.co. We are right now still on a wait list, so just put your name down, and most likely you'll hear from us for our September opening. So get in touch with us either through LinkedIn or our website.
Very good. Last question. What's most inspiring to you today?
Oh, it's my middle son. What he's able to do, how he rises to each challenge is really amazing. And that is something that informs me about human capability. When a doctor says this kid will never do anything, and every day he shows you that he does amazing things, is nothing short of miracle and inspiration. And I mean, forget miracle. I think it's something that my son is like, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna really do it. And that is just amazing. Huge inspiration.
There's a core, sounds like there's a core lesson there. Never give up.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Awesome. It's been great. This has been a really good story. There's a lot there. I am so glad to see that there is somebody helping people really get focused in on doing what it was that they wanted to do as opposed to just hoping for the best. Accomplishment is so much better than wishes. Um, yeah, that's awesome. This has been great. So thank you for sharing that. And I encourage everybody watching to go back and listen and watch it again. Christina's touched on a couple of really good points, not the least of which was that last one about staying with it no matter what the obstacle is. So, Christina, thank you very much for sharing your story. To all of the audience, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications every time a conversation like this one drops. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and a special thank you to Christina for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. That was fun.